The Being an Engineer podcast is a repository for industry knowledge and a tool through which engineers learn about and connect with relevant companies, technologies, people, resources, and opportunities. Enjoy the show.
Narrowing the scope of your company helps us standardize the processes, but of course we have to make sure that the market for this more focused solution is large enough to guarantee the work for our company and the growth for our company.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Being an Engineer podcast. Today we're speaking with Andrea Dallan, who is an engineer and entrepreneur and CEO of Dallan Spa, an Italian family business that has been producing systems for the processing of thin sheet metal since 1978. With 160 employees that include engineers, technicians, and operations personnel. Andrea is also the author of the books The Revolution of Efficiency and Think Thin. So Andrea, thank you so much for joining us today on the show.
Thank you, Aaron, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
You have a really interesting story about how you decided to become an engineer. Do you mind sharing it here?
Well, yes, of course. So, Aaron, I was raised in my family, and my father started his company when I was just 3 years old, and so I grew up in an environment where, well, my father was very little at home. He was mainly taking care of this newborn business back then, and so I started getting familiar with the sheet metal quite early on. So the first time I went to join him in the company, I was just 6 years old, but that was just because my mother forgot to pick me up at the school, so he had to go there, and I stood with him, but that wasn't really my real start. Where I really started was when I started working in the high school together with him, doing some assemblies. So I was not yet sure I was going to be an engineer, but it was very helpful to join my father and doing assemblies in the company where he already designed and assembled machines for transforming sheet metal into ready-made profiles, so metal sections. So there were all the technologies that we are still producing today. So punching, laser cutting. Well, laser came a little later on, and then roll forming, which was the core business for the company back then, and it is right now as well. So I started working with him. Then I decided when I was 20 to start studying engineering at the university in Padova. And doing that, I kept spending my summers working in my father's factory in the designing department. And then again in the assembly, and I came into the sales department where I'm still working right now. So I think it was very natural for me to choose the career that because my father is also a mechanical engineer. He studied at the university in Padova, and he graduated in 1974. And the year after that, I was born, and then so it's a kind of a family tradition, we can say.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about Dallan Spa. What is it that you do there, and where did the word spa come from? Because I thought originally that you guys manufactured spas, but that's not the case.
Well, when you wrote me that you imagined that we produce spa, so that makes me think about because spa is like when we say corporation, it's like it's an Italian acronym that says that stands for like limited company. Okay,
Got it. Okay.
so
Okay.
right now, I think we have to reconsider using spa all the time in our marketing. Um, so Dallan is the brand, and so it's our family name, and is also the registered trade mark that we use for marketing our equipment in so all over the world, because we install and service our equipment in more than 80 countries. So the machines that we produce transform metal coils, so which is sheet metal, into ready-made products. And these products can be metal suspended ceilings. They can be profiles for partition walls, products for ventilation, air conditioning, racking systems. So all metal profiles that can find a lot of uses from the automotive industry, but we are mostly specialized in thin gauge materials and mostly in the construction, in profiles for the construction business. So Venetian blinds, roller shutter blinds, and so on. And over time, we specialized not only in the production of the profiles, but also in the packaging of these profiles. So over time, right now, we can offer also turnkey equipment that goes from the metal coil to the product ready to be shipped to the final customer. So which is a lot of automation.
And one of the processes that you do quite a bit is roll forming, right?
Yes, exactly.
Can you talk just 30 seconds or so about what is roll forming? Because I imagine there's some people listening to this that don't really understand what roll forming is as a manufacturing process.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, sometimes I give it for granted that people should know what is roll forming, but because I was born in a company
Right.
that
You've been doing this
is
forever.
doing that. So for bending metal, we have two main technologies. One is bending through press brakes, where we bend the material using one tool that makes the bend in just one operation. The other technology is roll forming. Roll forming uses rolls that progressively shape the material, and through 8, 10, 20 roll forming passes, we give it the desired shape. So, for example, we start from a flat strip of material and we form it into a pipe or into a square tube or I have thousands. We have literally produced almost 10,000 different shapes in 40 years for our customers. Basically, roll forming is the right technology when we have a medium to large productions to be made. If I have to make one profile that is always different from one another, press brake can be the right technology. If I have to produce millions of linear feet per year or hundreds of thousands of linear feet per year, in this case, roll forming is the right technologies, because these machines can run at 80 feet per minute, 200 feet per minute, and there are systems for 800 feet per minute. So
wow,
it's for huge productivities. Does this answer the question, or gives it okay? Maybe
yes.
looking at some videos can be the best way to do it, but if you look to roll forming or Dallan roll forming, that you will find hundreds of videos showing the
Yeah, it's
machines.
a really cool process. For those of you who aren't familiar with roll forming, I encourage you to go onto YouTube and probably type in Dallan roll forming or just roll forming. You'll find some really neat videos about these progressive dies that are used to shape the material. Um, you mentioned that you spent your summers working for your father in his factory, and you had a lot of experience during that time with assembling machines.
Yes.
How did that experience of being an assembler help you later in your career as an engineer?
Absolutely. I think this gives it's a huge help because so if assembling a metal part is quite different than looking at the part in a screen and moving it, managing. So if you have assembled the parts, when you design them, you take into account a lot of small things like how am I going to put these elements together? How am I going to assemble the machine? How am I going to service the machine once it is assembled? Once it is at the customer site? So it gives you a lot of you understand a lot about how to assemble the machine, and over time also how to use the machines. Sometimes I hope I could spend more time in that assembly department, but I had this great chance to work in the family business and to experience something in each department. So I think it has been a great help, but of course you become a great technician, a great machine assembler if you really invest years in doing that activity. This is what I think.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It, and even if you don't make a career out of being an assembler, I mean, most engineers listening to this are not going to want to make a career out of doing
Yeah,
assembly
of
work. But
course.
to spend even a few months, out there on the line doing assembly work
Absolutely.
is so valuable because you learn how things go together. And by understanding how things go together, you understand better how to design those parts. It always surprises me how long it takes to put together an assembly, especially when you're doing it for the first time.
Yeah.
You might look at, I mean, we do custom equipment, and so we are always putting together equipment for the first time. And I can't tell you how many times I've looked at the model in the CAD screen, right? And we've thought, yeah, it's probably going to take us about 20 hours to do the assembly for this. And then it ends up taking twice that long, right? 40 hours and it's incredible how much you learn by doing that assembly that you can take back to the design of the next piece of equipment. So.
That's right. So it's a learning curve, and each project we develop gives us a lot of more information for the next. So it's important for me. So knowing that you also are in special equipment, in custom equipment, we understand each other very well, Aaron, I think.
Yes, we do. Yeah. Well, you are the author of two books. Let's talk a little bit about the first one, The Revolution of Efficiency. What can you tell us about that book? What might motivate an engineer listening to this podcast to go out and buy that book and read that book? What are they going to learn reading it?
Um, yes. So, just a little bit of background. So I started writing technical articles for technical reviews back in 2001. So I had quite a lot of technical articles that went all around the sheet metal manufacturing, sheet metal fabrication business. And I had the chance, at the beginning of this pandemic, I had some time for recollecting everything and putting everything together. So I have understood over time doing the my job in selling custom equipment, that what our customers are looking for and what people are looking for their processes is a solution, and generally this solution involves increasing the efficiency in their processes. So which means efficiency can be in productivity, so making more products in the same amount of time, or it can be efficiency in the use of raw material, so making the same production using less raw materials, less energy, with more flexibility. That is also an aspect of efficiency, and of course, increasing the level of automation. And because a lot of companies now face the problem of not finding even skilled technical personnel. And so right now there is a huge demand for automating processes. So thinking it from the perspective of the machine users, so I framed these four main aspects of efficiency. And so inside this this book, I collected a lot of case studies from our customers that used the sustainability, so the efficiency in the use of raw material, to reduce the cost of their products, and therefore they were a lot more competitive than their competitors. Sorry for the, but. And so the case studies, I think, is the most important gift my customers gave to me, because that is real life experience.
Yeah.
And that shows how they have faced some problems. And by reading the book, people who are in the manufacturing industries can get some hints, or even a small idea can give you the possibility to make huge improvements in your process. So, and this first book I wrote, of course, it is based on my experience in sheet metal, but all of the aspects, the formulas that I have introduced can be applied to almost any manufacturing business. So where we receive goods, so we transformate them, so and then we sell a transformed product. Well, all the concepts are valuable in for a lot of other manufacturing businesses. So, and I had a very, very good feedback on not only from my customers and the people from my industries, but also from technical reviews and editors. So I think there is really something interesting that can be taken out from my experience. And
yeah,
I tried to put it in a storytelling mode, so not to make it too hard to just to go through from formula to formula, but just giving it as if I was telling a story. And I hope the reading is not too hard for the readers.
I haven't finished it yet, but I've read about half of it, and there's a nice narrative that goes through it. It doesn't read like a dry textbook. And this, I think it's really, really valuable information, because here you have this business that your father started and you grew. It's a successful business. It's been around for quite a while now, and you're putting the last 20, 25 years of your experience making manufacturing efficient into this book. All that knowledge and insight in a book that we can go out and buy and learn from. So I think it's hugely valuable. Thank you for putting it together, and certainly encourage people to go out and pick up that book and learn from it. Nothing like learning from real world experience, right? A textbook is one thing, but reading about how someone else actually did something, I think is tremendously helpful.
Yes. I was surprised, because a lot of our customers are very jealous about their technology and what they are doing in the market. So I started asking them, so would you mind sharing your experience with your production, so you have made your production more efficient, and they have shared. So one customer shared the full schedule for the maintenance of his machines with incredible tips about how he uses thermal cameras to take pictures of the machine, identify if comparing the thermal camera shots from 1 month to the other to see if something is changing. Well, that was for me outstanding.
What a great pro tip. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
absolutely.
That's so cool.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I'm going to take a very short pause here and share with the listeners that teampipeline.us is where you can learn more about how we help medical device and other product engineering or manufacturing teams develop turnkey equipment, custom fixtures, and automated machines to characterize, inspect, assemble, manufacture, and perform verification testing on your devices. So we're speaking with Andrea Dallan today, and he has written 2 books, the Revolution of Efficiency and Think Thin. Now, Think Thin, is it out yet, or is it about to be released?
Well, it is released in Italy, and I'm presenting it to the next FabTech show in the English translation. So I'm receiving the printed copies this week.
Oh, how exciting!
In the company, yeah. So Think Thin is a slightly different book because. So as I finished writing the Revolution of Efficiency, I had still a lot of information of articles that I have written for a training program that I'm making for our sales staff. But I had the idea of rewriting it in a form of a more readable book. So it's focused more on design for manufacturing. So we can say, how do I design one product in order to make the same function, but using, for example, less material? How can I use a thinner material to obtain the same resistance and the same result? How can I use a pre-painted, a coated material to get from the coil to the finished product and avoid the painting job that I need to do on the parts? And also a lot of tips on how to design some specific types of profiles, which are our specialties. So I'm still so we have the copies. We are going to publish it with Amazon on the Kindle Unlimited, but starting from the next year, most probably. So right now, what is available is the Revolution of Efficiency, and if someone is curious to get the first copies of Think Thin, I think they should come to the FabTech show in September, so where we will have them available.
Fantastic. Well, I look forward to that one. So your company, Dallan, incorporates a lot of automation in their processes. How have you seen the role of automation change manufacturing, and where do you see automation going in the future?
It's very interesting because when I started working, it was 2000, and my father had just started one company as an independent company to produce the automation for packaging the profiles at the end of the roll forming lines. Over time, this automation became more and more complex, and today the automation part, compared to the production part of the roll former, the automation can be 75% of the investment, for example, because there is a lot more technology, drives, motors, movements that are required for the final packaging of the product. What I have seen is also that so the automation has grown a lot, and it has really made the difference for Dallan compared to other manufacturers that have chosen to remain producing just the roll former. For us, being able to provide the full solution until the end So a lot of companies prefer to deal with just one company that will provide not only the production, but also the packaging. The other thing that I have seen is that today, when the process is studied, we have spoken of design for manufacturing, but there is also one design for packaging. We design the product in order to create to make it easy to produce and efficient and so on. But also, automated packaging forces us to create schemes and schemes for the assembly, for the packaging, and to create a system for selling the product. So taking the time to study one automated packaging solution helps us also in the marketing and in making really the production a lot more efficient. The final push that we had in these final years was, Industry 4.0, which is it's one huge theme in Italy and in Europe, but I understand it is getting more and more popular also in the States. So having machines that are more and more connected, more and more automated, so these advanced production systems. And the final push was given from the pandemic, where automated systems were the systems that could guarantee that one company could move on with their production, even though there were restrictions on going to work or in working closely with our team, with other teammates. So right now, I would say that Dallan would not be where we are now if we didn't have our automation department. This company that my father created was merged into Dallan in 2013. So right now, I think it is the number one plus that we can offer to our customers, and it is one of the main reasons customers are contacting us. Does this answer your question, Aaron?
Yeah, it does. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, if your factory is automated, then it doesn't get shut down because the operators can't come in because of COVID, right? You have
That's right.
Basically robots that are running your factory. So Dallan sells capital equipment, specifically for the sheet metal industry. How should companies think about the return on investment of purchasing capital equipment in general? I mean, if I'm a purchasing manager out there, are there any rules of thumb that you can share to help purchasing managers or other manufacturing or engineering teams make decisions about the value of purchasing capital equipment?
Yes, it is one of the reasons why I wrote the first book, The Revolution of Efficiency. So this book is really dedicated to manufacturing managers that need to understand, first of all, what is the main purpose, so the main problem they want to solve. So do they have a problem of efficiency? Do they have a problem of automation? Do they have a problem of productivity? Or do they have a problem of flexibility? These are the four dimensions of efficiency that I invite to investigate. Because so each time that we have a problem in production, it can be, from my experience, Aaron, I have seen that each problem that our customers are coming to me to solve is there is the Pareto rule, no? So the 80% of the effects are due to just the 20% of the causes. So the 80% of the solution is achieved if we understand really what is our problem. So our problem, is it the cost of the product because of the cost of the raw material? Then I need to work on producing more efficiently, reducing the scrap or reducing the thickness of my materials and so on. So it is not just the machine and that will give me the return on the investment, but really I have to understand what is the final cost of the product and the production rate that I will have, and I need to compare that to my present situation to understand how much cash flow the new project, the new process will bring into our company. And in some cases, it is very, very straightforward. And I don't mean we have to do extremely complicated analysis, because once we understand the roots of our problem in the production, so we have already the criteria to choose between different equipments, to choose whether I need to work on the automation or do I need to work on the productivity. But sometimes I cannot increase the productivity if I don't increase the level of automation as well. So working on these four main aspects, and well, we should have a lot more time to talk about that. But it is a decision analysis problem, and so efficiency, sustainability, so the use of the raw material, the level of automation, what is the skill of the people I will need to operate the machine, how many people I will need to operate the machine. These are all criteria that I can use to evaluate between different options that I have. And sometimes we find that the best option is to continue as we are doing, because there is right. So the new solution would not bring enough cash flow to justify. And over time, we have understood that we have specialized in those technologies that we know for sure that are generating an additional cash flow of hundreds of thousands or even more per year of US dollars. So we really can offer a great value to our customers. And I think this is also our job as sales people, to be also consultants and to help our customers do this calculation.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk a little bit more about productivity and flexibility. These are two things that you talk about quite a bit in your book. One of the problems that we struggle with at Pipeline is how to maximize our productivity building one-off or two-off machines. You know, everything we do is custom, so we never have the opportunity to develop a really optimized assembly workflow for a particular machine build. I mean, if we were assembling the same piece of equipment over and over, I'm sure that we could increase our productivity in that area by quite a bit. But to accommodate all the different equipment that we assemble, flexibility often takes priority over maximum productivity.
Yeah.
Do you have any recommendations for how companies can build manufacturing processes that result in both high productivity and flexibility?
Well, if you're speaking of our job, so we also produce engineer-to-order machine. And they are not maybe as custom as what you are producing at Pipeline, but we have the same dilemma. So we are helping our customers make their processes a lot more repeatable, reliable. So we are introducing a lot of automation for our customers, and our job cannot be automated as much as theirs. So. Well, over time, we had to make a choice. If we are speaking of manufacturing capital equipment and manufacturing custom equipment, not to work in the whole of the possible profiles that could be made out of sheet metal. So that was one of the first thing my father did. He chose to focus on a very limited amount, so a thickness up to 2 millimeters, which is thin gauges. It turned out to be very important, but it also helped us not to have too many models of machines to manage a lot of different thicknesses. And then over time, we decided with what markets, which type of profiles we wanted to focus to develop modules or machines that could be designed, tested, and possibly repeated. So when we enter one market, or when we develop a new machine, we make a market analysis first, and we try to find machines that can be repeated, whose design can be repeated, and we estimate about once per year for the next 5 years at least. If we don't have this, well, our chances to improve the project, improve the process, are very, very limited. But nevertheless, so it is what we try to do, and there is always each year we have 3 or 4 very special machines. Every year, consider that we make between 50 and 70 lines. Plus, there is all the tooling, tooling that we are selling. So, but we are managing overall 150, 160 projects per year. And in this 150, 160, 60 are the lines that we produce. So there is always we are trying to standardize as much as possible, because without standardization we cannot create efficiency for ourselves. But there is always a balancing act here, because the advantage that companies like you and us have is we have a design department. We can develop a custom solution for for each customer. Each company is different. It is a huge advantage. It also, we are delivering. We have also to understand that we are delivering a unique value to these companies. So building efficiency, if everything is a new machine and we have to test every time, a new process remains extremely complicated, but also gives us a huge advantage, because not all the companies are capable of the know-how that you have at Pipeline.
Yeah, I think productivity, at least maximum productivity, and flexibility are almost opposing requirements to a certain extent.
That's a very good point. That's a very, very good point.
Yeah. And it's, I hear what you're saying, right? You have, starting with your father and continuing now with you and your team, you have made the intentional decision to focus, to narrow the scope of what you do. So you're not trying to please everyone. You have this narrow scope that you do really, really well. You're not trying to do everything really well. That I think is kind of impossible, right? Either you do 1 or 2 things really, really well, or you do a lot of things just kind of okay, mediocre, so.
That's right. Well, there is one. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just about done with my rant here, but
Okay.
I think there's only so far you can go to accommodate both maximum productivity and flexibility, and maybe really the answer is you don't accommodate them both, because they are almost opposing requirements. You narrow your scope and you get really good at one thing to maximize productivity.
Exactly. Well, this is what my father did in 1984, 1986, narrowing the scope. Then we did it even more. There is one author, Al Rees, in the US. He wrote a book. The name of the book is Focus, and he speaks about. It's a book basically on marketing, but the concepts are very, very interesting, and it's the favorite book for my father. So narrowing the scope of your company helps us standardize the processes. But of course, we have to make sure that the market for this more focused solution is large enough to guarantee the work for our company and the growth for our company.
Absolutely. Yep. Well said. All right. Well, I think we'll wrap things up here in just a minute. Before we do, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you think we should?
Well, no, I think we pretty much covered all the main points I wanted to bring on the table here, Aaron. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're so welcome. Andrea, how can people get a hold of you if they want to learn more about your books or your company, or just get in touch with you? What's a good way?
Well, the best way is to contact me in LinkedIn. Just type Andrea Dallan with 2L, and or they can come to our website, dallan.com. We are starting in September also with the podcast in Italian and English, where we are reading. I'm reading actually the books one by one. So if somebody likes the podcast, we will start the end of September with that.
Great.
And one other thing that we started doing during the pandemic that might be very interesting if someone wants to go more to understand more the role forming processes is the master classes. So we have started presenting our machines live. So when the machine is ready here before the shipment, we give a tour of the facility, of the machine. We show how it is working, all the different steps of the production, of the packaging, and it has become a very, very successful tool because we have in each masterclass people that are joining from South America, from North America, Europe, Taiwan. It's incredible, Australia, and they connect at the same time. It's like having people here and showing them the facility. So it's and people give us a lot of very good feedback on that because it's like, that program in the US, how it's made.
Yeah.
So we are
just like
using
that.
Just like that. Okay. Yeah, we are showing how metal profiles are made, how these technologies work, and well, we're having a lot of fun in doing that as well.
I love that you're doing that. That's so cool. I mean, that's my idea of a fun vacation is going into a factory and seeing how things are being manufactured.
Well, I'll send you the link to to join the master classes, Aaron, if you want.
Please do. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, Andrea, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I really appreciate all the examples and insight and wisdom that you've shared.
Thank you very much, Aaron. It's been a real pleasure, and hope to see you soon again.
I'm Aaron Monker, founder of Pipeline Design and Engineering. If you liked what you heard today, please share the episode. To learn how your team can leverage our team's expertise developing turnkey equipment, custom fixtures, and automated machines, and with product design, visit us at teampipeline.us. Thanks for listening.